I've built a lot of stuff with Ryobi tools, from the Gray Ghost to the Blasphemy build to hundreds, literally, of household projects. Just a lot of stuff with Ryobi. As you guys well know, Ryobi is available at all Home Depots all over the place. I always liked how they looked. I always loved that neon green of Ryobi. I thought it was very cool. The problem is, I'm running up against a couple of power issues with my current Ryobi setup. The power issues manifest in two different ways. Number one, for whatever reason, and maybe this is because I'm 10 or 15 years into a lot of these tools, a lot of my batteries are failing. So they'll just wonk out and they won't charge anymore, and I've tried all of this stuff on the internet to bring them back to life, to no avail. The second, I run into power limitations as I'm getting into deeper fabrication. The most popular tool that I use, which is my 4.5-inch angle grinder, very often conks out as I'm trying to cut a thick piece of steel. In fact, I'll have to pull it out, sometimes pull the battery out to reset the entire tool multiple times, or it just won't do it. Or it'll do it so slowly that it doesn't make any sense. So I found myself wishing I had a little more torque and energy in that angle grinder. So between that and the battery issues, I thought this could be a great time to upgrade my entire power tool set. So I reached out to my good friends over at Harbor Freight and said, hey, what if I did a wholesale switch from Ryobi to Hercules? Now, if you guys don't know, Hercules is Harbor Freight's high-end cordless power tool line, much more on par with a DeWalt or a Milwaukee versus a more consumer, high-end consumer version like Ryobi. So when you see these comparisons online between Hercules and Milwaukee or DeWalt or Makita, you'll find that the Hercules hangs really, really well with all of the higher end brands, but at a literal fraction of the price. Now, the batteries are still pretty much the cost of batteries across the board. They're about $100, but the tool itself, if you look at something like a Milwaukee cordless impact, like their 1/2-inch impact you might take lug nuts off with, it's like $240 for the tool only, whereas the Hercules is $69 for a tool that has almost exact same specs and does a tremendous job of getting really stuck, tough to get off bolts. The other day I looked on my front porch and there was a giant slew of boxes, and I said, oh, Christmas has come in March. So let's check out all the fun Hercules stuff that Harbor Freight sent over and do a little unboxing. So here's the full spread of the Ryobi that I've had for many, many years. Some tools I use all the time and some I barely ever use. And you know, for this video, I was gonna do that move where I like throw them all in the garbage and be like, Ryobi no more. But the reality is, these aren't bad tools. They're good tools. I just think I've probably outgrown them with the type of work I'm doing in the garage, which is a little heavier fabrication and welding. You know, I'm cutting at least 1/8-inch plate, sometimes thicker, sometimes 3/8, sometimes 1/4 inch. And a lot of these tools can't really hang. Like these are the two angle grinders I have. This one's more powerful than this one, but very often as I'm trying to cut through some thicker material, they conk out on me and I have to pull the battery out and put it back in and sometimes reset it to make it work. And you know, when you have to do that like literally 10 or 20 times when you're trying to cut one piece of metal, it ain't that good. So this was a real primary reason for this. I was kind of tired of that entire engagement. In terms of things I use all the time, honestly, I probably use this vacuum the most because of Ben. There's dog hair all over my house, but between that and these guys, the other one I use the most is probably this, which is my 1/2-inch impact, mostly for lug nuts. And this has, I believe, 375 pounds, foot-pounds of torque for removal, like if you've got a stiff bolt, whereas the Hercules has 500 foot-pounds of removal torque. So that's all really good, especially if you're working on suspension components or something where you've got these really tight bolts. This thing's definitely in there as well. This is the cordless ratchet. Sometimes when you have a really tight space, it's really good to have something you can just stick in that space and just zap it off versus having to do the ratchet motion. This actually works as a regular ratchet as well. Then of course I've got my 3/8 driver here. I've got a couple of these. I've got a drill. I've got a fan, which I'm not sure if I've ever had a battery in. I don't even know where I got it. I've got this light. Don't have an idea where I got it. I barely, if ever, have used it. And then this bad boy, which is relatively used. This is just an air inflator. So for some of these things, I want to keep some of these things around the shop because it's useful to have them and they obviously cost money. My big old leaf blower here, I use all the time from cleaning dust and dirt and metal shavings out of the shop. It's really easy. And then like a little mini version of it, which very often I'll stick in my pickleball bag and clean debris off of courts in the fall. So that's kind of my full scope of Ryobi. As you can see, Christmas has indeed come early. This is a plethora of amazing Hercules tools. Let me take you through what they sent. Now, I got 3 angle grinders. Get a cutting wheel on one, you get a grinding wheel on another, you get a flap disc on another. Very easy just to go back and forth instead of having to have a single angle grinder that you need to change out all those tools for. I have run this first one through its paces a little bit and it is awesome and torquey. I've decided to use this kind of trigger because I've actually been in situations where I'm like under a car and trying to grind something off and it might catch on it. And if it catches on it, it can fling, you know, it can come down. You do not want this thing to be with a switch so it's automatically on when it flies out of your hands. So I opted for the push trigger. There are people that take the safety catch off. I'm not sure if I'll do that or not, but I might. Next guy, of course, is the 1/2-inch driver. This is the one that does 500 foot-pounds of removal. It is so nice and compact in my hand, especially compared to the Ryobi, which was a much bigger overall tool. So this thing is really great. Fits in your toolbox better, obviously. Super durable, it's got a really good hand feel, and it is torquey as heck. This guy I'm really excited about. It's a tool I don't actually own. This is a 1/4-inch right angle die grinder. And where I would use these is if I was welding up a panel and I needed to finish it, you know, like grind all the welds off, I would start with probably the big, you know, 4.5-inch angle grinder, but to finish it, it's really nice to have a nice flat disc so you don't dig into the bodywork. Previously, I would have had to have used my compressor, my air compressor for this, but now I have this lovely little tool that I can grind those welds out with. Now, who knows how long the battery will last when grinding welds, but that is a problem for future Mike. Big guys over here. This one is a real MVP. If you don't own this and you do metal work, this is a surface conditioning drum. I use these all the time. If you've got like mill scale or a little bit of surface rust and you've got a piece of steel that you're trying to clean and do something with, this thing makes really quick work of it. If you've got some surface rust on your body work, it comes with a really good removal tool included in the box. They've also included this steel brush, which I'm wondering will make quick work of Porsche undercoating, which is notoriously difficult to get off. And I'm wondering if this thing works the way I hope it will, cleaning out things like a frunk, you know, in your Porsche or your trunk where the engine goes, could be a lot easier with this particular brush on here. Of course, the 20-volt drill driver. This is a 1/2-inch driver, so you can fit some pretty big drill bits in there, a 1/2-inch drill bit. And hopefully, again, good and torquey. Can't wait to try it. This bad boy is the 3/8 version of the Impact. Of course, we use these things all the time, as we all know. So hopefully this thing will be just as powerful as the 1/2-inch one. Same thing, 475 pounds of torque breakaway, but obviously for 3/8. Don't know that this won't be one of the MVPs, especially as I'm working on the Cayenne and I want to do stuff with like long torques. This is the 1/4-inch compact impact driver. Really, really nice to have for like if you have a long Torx in here for all of your interior pieces. This is a really nice compact piece. And then of course batteries. I got 6 batteries. These are all 20-volt, 5-amp-hour batteries. Power all the 20-volt tools that I have here. Also have a bunch of 12-volt for things like the 1/4-inch driver and this bad boy, which is really cool. This is an extended ratchet. So just like the really nice Ryobi ratchet I had, this one has a long tube on it so you can really get it into tight spaces. I'm really excited about this particular tool. And then, for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe they're cheeky, maybe they have a sense of humor. They sent me the weirdest collection of ratchets along with this order. I don't know why. I don't know if they had extra inventory or they want me to talk about them, but they sent me 4 1/4-inch ratchets, one super stubby guy, and then sort of 3 sizes up and one with a handle on it. I don't use 1/4-inch ratchets all that much, but I'll have them. They'll be handy. I'm sure I will come up with an occasion to use them, or maybe I'll do a little giveaway with you guys. And then, because maybe they thought, because I live in Long Beach, which is a port city, that I was going to be taking apart an oil tanker or a battleship. So they sent me this gigantic 26-inch long, 1-inch ratchet. So I don't know if I'm gonna get into maybe some center locks. So maybe if I get a Porsche GT3 at some point, I'll be able to loosen the center lock with this giant thing. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. It is the biggest ratchet I've ever seen in my life, and I'm not sure what I'll do. Maybe I'll make a display or a piece of artwork with it. Or maybe someone will give me a Formula One center lock and I'll be able to stick it on there and that'll just be something in the shop. I don't know. Anyway, it's got a lot of pulls. And it looks appropriate for disassembling if you happen to have a battleship in your backyard. This is your tool. So one of the MVPs of this whole setup is this. This is a band saw, battery powered as the rest is. And you can either use it like this, where you just chop, or you can release this bad boy, which I don't know if I can do one-handed, and put it up like this, and then it comes with this, is it a fence? Is that what they call it? It comes with this thing, which somehow goes on here, and you can use it to cut all of your, pie cuts and exhaust and things like that in a much more modern way than if you want to. You can completely disconnect this into its own tool and cut, like if you have, for instance, if I had to make a cut on this exhaust here, I could just cut straight down with the actual device. So super cool. Totally forgot to mention it, but this is going to see a lot of use in this garage. So without further ado, what I'd like to do is let's do a quick little comparison between the Hercules angle grinder and the Ryobi angle grinder. Okay, to demonstrate the upgrade from Ryobi to Hercules, I have this very chunky 5/16 chunk o' metal. I don't even remember where I got it, but it's just like a really weird, poorly welded chunk of metal. I didn't weld this one, and I thought I would just cut it because sometimes we gotta cut big metal. And I thought we'd see how long it takes to cut with the Hercules versus the Ryobi. Now this would be a challenge for any angle grinder, and to be honest, if the Hercules doesn't stumble a few times during this, I would be surprised. But let's give it a go, and I'm gonna start my timer. So I'm just gonna use my phone stopwatch and start this bad boy and see how long it takes to cut each one. So the plan for this very scientific test is to start my timer on my phone, try to use the Ryobi to cut through, and then do the same thing with the Hercules. Okay, 158.86. of blade. All right, 138.13, and I ran out of blade. The other blade was bigger, and I think if I'd had it straight, I probably would have done it in about 120. I probably missed about 18 seconds here. So I'm gonna say it was 40 seconds faster. And there was a moment at the end there, I don't know if you guys saw, but I was really hammering it. Like, I was going way harder on it than I normally would in any other environment, because I was trying to make it stop. But it didn't, because it's strong as hell. I did manage to go burn through almost an entire disc, because I was pressing so hard on it. But this thing is a torque monster, you guys. What a piece of kit. So yeah, dudes, all of these things, all of this lovely stuff is going to be featured in, obviously, all the videos on my channel. I'm going to make a little holder for it. I have one for my Ryobi now that's just made out of PVC pipe, so I'm going to double down on that and make sure I have enough organization for the shop so I don't have to hunt for these tools and I know exactly where everything is. But stay tuned. If you guys are interested in any of the tools on this table or any other tools, head on over to your local Harbor Freight. I've listed all of these tools that I got in the description. So if you want to check them out individually, go check out the reviews. They get such favorable reviews against all the big players, and I think you'll be very, very satisfied if you decide to pick some up. All right, see you next time.